It is very, very interesting to see Warner Brothers getting back into the movie star game, building up their stable from its recent heyday under Jeff Romanoff, where Ben Affleck, Leonardo DiCaprio, Clint Eastwood, and many named directors called Warner Brothers home. It was good times. And now, on the same day that Robert Pattinson signs an overall deal with Warner Brothers, maybe talent feels brighter days and less dramatic days are ahead with the recent Discovery development, right? And David Zaslav, who's going to be taking over this new company, by the way, said that relationships with talent is going to be his top priority. And Pattinson, of course, is hot off of Tenet and the upcoming The Batman. We'll talk more about that in the live stream, that deal. And also the studio is still making a serious play for Margot Robbie's allegiance. Every studio wants her right now. She's a Disney, she's a Paramount. But they not only have Margot Robbie for Harley Quinn, I told you I recently heard that she and James Gunn re-upped. They don't have any specific projects in the works, but they renewed their options at the studio. But also she's going to be Warner Brothers Barbie, maybe. That hasn't gone forward yet, but that's supposed to happen. And I also hear that she's in talks to do a new Ocean's 11 movie. That's early days on that. But that would be a major, major brand for her. That would be big for her and the studio. This is like how Sony is in the Tom Holland business. He's not just their Spider-Man, but he's their Nathan Drake now as well. And now Dune star, Timothy Chalamet is Warner Brothers' new Young Wonka. Such a Hollywood thing to do. Young Wonka. As the studio once again secures a younger star to anchor a franchise with the hopes that franchise will run for a very long time. In fact, Warner Brothers also just swapped out Charlize Theron for Anya Taylor-Joy as their new Furiosa for the very same reason. Some call it ageism, but Hollywood calls it good business. And I think I like the Young Wonka idea, especially because we'll talk about Johnny Depp in just a moment, but he's a no-go. But I feel bad about doing that to Charlize Theron because she did so much to create that character. All right, so anyway, back to Chalamet. He definitely looks like Johnny Depp's version of the character. They could have gone two ways. They could have gone with someone who looked more like Gene Wilder's version, which of course, I don't know. I think it's actually pretty split, although Warner Brothers is famous for dividing their fans amongst different versions of the same character. But I'm curious, which version of the character do you prefer? But anyway, Chalamet played Edward Scissorhands Jr. in a Super Bowl spot earlier this year. And considering that Warner Brothers just fired Depp off of Fantastic Beasts, ain't no way Depp's coming back for the Wonka movies, which makes this a kind of an underhanded way for Warner Brothers to capitalize on Depp's popularity in the role and in general without having to actually work with Depp. I think everyone will be okay with it. The people just mostly want to be happy and enjoy content. And Chalamet is interesting. Chalamet was likely chosen not just because of his similarity to Depp and his budding relationship with Warner Brothers with Dune, but also because of his intense online fan base. The guy looks sharp on the red carpet. I've seen him have some red carpet looks where he looks just fantastic. He was on SNL recently where he did a pretty good job. He can move the needle on social media. But so far, he doesn't move the needle at the box office. There are some actors who can get a lot of people talking, but they can't get them to pay to see them. Timothee Chalamet to date has been the latter. But maybe Dune will change things. Warner Brothers must feel very good about that film. But Chalamet is also going to sing and dance here. As it's reported, that will be the first time that he does that in a movie. He comes from, I believe, LaGuardia High School of Performing Arts. But he played a flute in the recent, not his SNL, but he appeared in someone else's. But this Wonka movie will have several musical numbers. And I think, right there, Chalamet singing and dancing in a sharp outfit, who's not going to want to see that? Paul King, a.k.a. Wes Anderson for kids, whose Paddington 2 is the only film to ever maintain 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Citizen Kane just lost that status, so now it's only Paddington 2 remains. It was a very good movie, although it did very heavily rip off Wes Anderson, but it did it well. And speaking of Paddington 2, I would love to see Hugh Grant board this film as well. He's going to be on the upcoming Dungeons & Dragons for Paramount. But I'd love to see him on board here in some capacity. I think he'd be a great fit with this. And Paul King has his number. Now, King wrote Paddington 2 with actor Simon Farnaby, who had a bit role there and will likely appear here as well. And Farnaby just finalized the script after several other writers had taken a crack at it, notable writers, but they couldn't quite get it just right. But Warner Brothers feels good about Farnaby and King. I would too, quite frankly, after Paddington 2. And none other than Wizarding World himself, David Heyman, who also is behind the Paddington movies, will produce. Now, he's also behind the Fantastic Beasts movies, which I think have really missed the mark. So I don't think David Heyman is guaranteed, but this is shaping up to be a pretty darn good-looking project. I mean, that makes this prequel to Roald Dahl's iconic story delightfully British through and through, with, of course, the exception of its star. It's worth noting that no Wonka to date, even Christian Borle in the delightful recent Broadway musical produced by Warner Brothers, I saw that and I had such a good time. None of them has had a British accent, and so Timothee Chalamet, I guess, shall continue that tradition. Speaking of Americans playing iconic British characters, considering Wonka's famously bitchy attitude, this could give Warner Brothers their own male version of Disney's Cruella, and I wouldn't be surprised if all the hype for Cruella isn't what pushed this through finally, and also maybe make Timothee Chalamet. They've been going after him for a while. Maybe he saw how well Emma Stone has been doing and was like, I'd like one of those films for myself. I mean, they're both origin stories starring a fan favorite in a fabulous fashionista role. I think, I have to tell you, having seen Cruella myself, that does make me more excited for this film. Personally, with all the talent involved, particularly the Paddington people, it would seem this Wonka prequel can't miss. Now, we felt that way before about other Warner Brothers projects and sadly been proven wrong, but I hope that this lands. I think the odds are very much in its favor. I can't wait to get our first look at Chalamet's Wonka and to see how Wonka meets the Oompa Loompas. They had some idea of how it happened in the Broadway musical, and I'm sure Roald Dahl has touched on it in the book. But I'm excited to see what King and Farnaby come up with here. I mean, they're basically his minions, and I'll be curious to see what they do, who they cast, how they're depicted. A lot of really cool choices could be made here. So share your thoughts down below. Subscribe today. I can't wait for all the Wonka chocolate and different kind of merchandise to come off of this. That was one of the funnest things about seeing it on Broadway. They had a candy store in the back of the theater, and I got a golden ticket. I got some candy to watch the second half of the musical with. And I got a t-shirt. And they did the theater just so fun. Wonka is great theming. Great theming. I think that it's very strong, and I can see why Warner Brothers wants to bring it back, and this, I think, is teed up quite nicely. So again, share those thoughts down below, including what kind of Wonka merchandise you'd like to see. Warner Brothers needs a theme park. Get on it, Zaslav. All right, share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.